listening to 90.7 FM WKGC, Panama City.
And welcome back to Doing Dinner on 90.7 WKGC Public Media, Panama City. And today we're talking about one of the most American things there is. I'm Chef Chris, your host of Doing Dinner, where we plan a dinner party, or, in this case, a really cool American tradition that is very unique to us. Some would say it's a cultural icon that has brought together families, friends, communities, and rivals for over a century. It's a tradition that kicks off the last Saturday in August and runs straight through the frost of January. It involves pageantry, it involves rivalries, it involves heartbreak, and it involves glory. It is college football. This isn't just about football, though. It's about identity, it's about family, it's about the smell of smoked brisket in a parking lot, ribs, the sound of a marching band warming up, and the sight of a stadium full of colors, chants, flags, and fans, who you've all been waiting for all year for this day. And college football is only 9 days away when Iowa State and Kansas State match up in the great country of Ireland to kick off the college football season. And today we're going to plan a great tailgate at your home or at your tailgate, however you want to look at it. But like on Doing Dinner, the first thing that we love to talk about and do is kind of paint that picture with the history of what we're talking about. And, you know, college football started November 6th, 1869. So it's been going on quite a while. And that game was between a university in New Jersey, actually two, Rutgers and Princeton, and it was held in New Brunswick. Rutgers actually still plays in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and the rules were kind of closer to soccer than football, what we know today as football. There was 25 players on each side, the ball was round, there was no forward passes, there was no protective equipment, and the final score happened to be Rutgers 6 and Princeton 4. And about 100 people stood along the field in everyday clothes during that game. But the sport started to spread in the 1870s. Some of those Ivies, we're talking Harvard, Yale, and Princeton, dominated early play. Well, that's because, you know, they got the pick of the pool because they were the longest-standing universities in the country. Then along came a guy who we probably all know or have at least heard his name, and his name was Walter Camp. He played at Yale, and he is credited with transforming the game in the 1880s. He introduced things like the line of scrimmage instead of this like rugby-style play that we were used to seeing. He created the down and distance system. You know, we all know first down. Almost all of us have the chant, first down chant, something to do with it. And he reduced teams to 11 players per side. His influence has earned him the title Father of American Football, which is fun. But by the 1890s, annual games were set in stone, creating the earliest rivalries because bragging rights were worth as much as the win itself. And we all know that, and we're going to talk about some of those rivalries. The first one, and one of the big ones, is Harvard-Yale. One of the first major rivalry games, drawing an estimated 20,000 fans when it first started. Now it's even bigger than that. And then we come the last game of every season that isn't involved in the bowls, the playoff system, or any of that, and that is Army-Navy. And they started playing in 1890, which most of us see it as a test of honor between two service academies watched closely by many military leaders. And then what happened was the railroad, which made travel to away games possible for alumni and fans, and then came the concept of this thing that we know as homecoming, which was born in the early 1900s. Actually, the University of Missouri's 1911 football game against Kansas is often called the first homecoming. It was completed with a parade, which we all have now, a pep rally, and a huge pregame feast. I wonder where tailgating came from. But in 1869, when Rutgers and Princeton played, it is generally credited as the first tailgate. And Rutger fans wore scarlet scarves and shared sausages, bread, and beer before cook-off outside of the stadium, which is interesting to know. And in 1914, at the Yale Bowl, fans drove their Model T Fords to the stadium and literally dropped the tailgates on them to serve food. And that's where the term tailgate comes from, invented in 1949 at Yale. Well, here in the South, we kind of take college football a little bit differently. And that's where barbecue became the dominant pregame food, especially things like whole hog roast, before what we now know as the Deep South's oldest rivalry, which is between the University of Georgia and Auburn. And that started in 1892 and has been played consecutively since then. Some of the most famous tailgating spots today, we must talk about, and one that I have had the pleasure of experiencing one time, is the Grove at Ole Miss. You can paint this picture with like 10, 15 acres of oak trees with tents, chandeliers, fine china, and elaborate spreads. Definitely my type of dinner party. Absolutely the best tailgate in the country is happening at Ole Miss. I don't think that is up for discussion, but, I think a university down the road, Tiger Stadium, a.k.a. Death Valley at LSU, could say that they host one that's pretty close, and I think that has more to do with the food than the actual setting, because there is no doubt that the Grove has the best setting. But at Tiger Stadium, Death Valley, the smell of gumbo, jambalaya, and crawfish boils filled the air for blocks. And I will say, outside of the game, they're a pretty generous bunch, and they love to share, which is quite nice, that Cajun, Arcadian hospitality comes out there, at least until the lights come on in Death Valley, and then it's you're on your own. But there is a cool place called Cockaboose Railroad at South Carolina. And it's 22 old cabooses that are turned into these like luxury tailgate suites parked by the stadium. And then one that I got to experience recently last year was at Southern Methodist University, SMU. And they don't tailgate, they boulevard. And it gave me a little bit of Grove at Ole Miss vibes, just on a smaller scale, which is kind of cool to be tailgating next to a presidential library. But anyway, that was really, really fun too. Along the road in the center of Dallas is this really amazing tailgate experience. And I think college football and food kind of loves itself and blends itself together. It's more than just the game. We'll spend all day outside in the heat, in the humidity in the South, eating and drinking until we watch 18 to 22-year-olds play a game. And sometimes it brings us joy, and sometimes it brings us heartbreak, which is the fun part. But it's all blended by amazing traditions. And these traditions bind generations. And when you start binding generations, I think that you start binding food ideas and food processes into each other. We can start with something like Ohio State Script, which started in 1936 by the marching band. The I is dotted by a senior saxophone player. Fans cheer as loud as if it's a touchdown. It's almost like they won just seeing the I dotted. And sometimes it's a dignitary. And another cool one, which I've got to see live before, is Auburn's War Eagle. And that dates back to 1892, where a live eagle circles the stadium before landing on the field. And quite frankly, my favorite college football tradition, introduced in 1978 in the great city of Tallahassee, Florida. Florida State's Chief Osceola rides the horse Renegade and plants a flaming spear at midfield before every game. One game a year, he gets off the horse and plants it, and that is for the University of Florida. And then you have some really cool traditions that started in the mid-90s or late 90s, like Wisconsin's Jump Around, which began in 1998 between the third and fourth quarters. The stadium bounces to the House of Pain hit Jump Around. And if you have never seen it, it's quite fun to watch. And then you have things like Virginia Tech's Enter Sandman. Since 2000, players run onto the field as these 65,000 fans in the Black Hills jump to Metallica's anthem. Loud enough to register on a lot of seismographs, which is quite fun. And then you have South Carolina Sandstorm, started in 2009, where fans wave these towels in unison to the EDM track, Sandstorm, which is quite fun to watch. And then, in the same state, you have Clemson, which is quite a fascinating place in the middle of nowhere. They rubber rock before running down a hill into Memorial Stadium, which is also known by Death Valley. And a little fun fact for you, Clemson and LSU will be playing one of the first games of the season in Memorial Stadium at Clemson to decide who has the real Death Valley. And there's been a little bit of trash talk, and that's the fun thing about college football is we're all friends until the game starts. And one of my favorites is Florida Field's Tom Petty sing-along. Yep, Tom Petty went to the University of Florida. He's from Gainesville. And, well, their song is played, and it began in 2017 after his passing. But the crowd belts I Won't Back Down, and it's quite a fascinating sight to see. And you got to think about, we have real-life mascots in college football. Bevo, who is a Texas Longhorn steer, he's been around since 1916. Uga, who is Georgia's white bulldog, cute little guy, not super active. Then you have Ralphie, which is Colorado's buffalo, and Mike the Tiger, which is a live Bengal tiger at LSU. And then you have Traveler, which is a beautiful white horse housed in the city of Los Angeles for USC. Now, that's the fun part about college football, is it brings friends together who are rivals. And rivals are really the basis of our traditions of flavor, too, which is kind of fun to think about. Like in the Iron Bowl, Auburn versus Alabama, one of the most pageantry-based games, and quite frankly, one of the most heated rivalries in college football, whereas got this really amazing barbecue tradition where it's like pulled pork versus the smoked chicken. And Auburn, they love their pork, and, well, Roll Tide loves their smoked chicken with Alabama white sauce. And then you have things like the Red River rivalry, which is Texas versus Oklahoma. And that's played during the State Fair of Texas every year. So lots of corn dogs and turkey legs and fried Oreos and think fair food. And then you have what we call the game, which is Michigan and Ohio State. So Michigan, a state famous for its brats and ciders. And then, you know, the Buckeyes. We all love the candy made with peanut butter. Originated right there in Columbus. And then, you know, here in the great state of Florida, we have the University of Florida Gators versus the Florida State Seminoles. Where in Tallahassee, we love to eat gator tail nuggets, and I don't really know what they like to eat in Gainesville, but I can tell you that gator tail is delicious, especially when you deep fry it. And then, let's talk about the Egg Bowl. Ole Miss versus Mississippi State. Mississippi is famous for its catfish and its hush puppies and things of that nature where you just eat that during that weekend. And, well, it's a game named after a food, the Egg Bowl. And it has a quite interesting history that you could look up yourself. Then you have things like Bedlam, which is Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State. Think fried pies, smoked brisket, lots of Texas influence there, even though the fans in Oklahoma would not necessarily agree with that, but that's where it comes from. And then you have like intercontinental, almost like within East Coast, West Coast rivalries. You have USC versus Notre Dame, whereas the Midwest is very beefy and stewy, and during that time of year it's very cold. And then they travel to a coastal seafood place like Los Angeles that has global influence everywhere. And even some of the best games were shaped by food and how we did it, like the 1957 Snow Bowl, where Ohio State beat Michigan 2014 in blizzard conditions, and I would assume that they were eating lots of chili back then. Or, you know, the Doug Flutie's Hail Mary at Boston College, where he threw a game-winning 48-yard touchdown pass against Miami. Thanks, Doug. We really appreciate that. Or the 1988 classic, Catholics versus Convicts. Notre Dame edges Miami 31-30. Or the Choke It Doke, Tallahassee, where FSU rallied from 28 points down to tie Florida. I would say that most everyone who attended those games knows what they ate that day, because it's very memorable. And it's fun to think about. So, but why are food and football inseparable? Everyone has parties. We've done one on this show on the Super Bowl. But it's kind of like the pregame. Pregame's like appetizers, it's snacks, it's the grilling, and then halftime is kind of like the main course. You know, we're thinking about what we're gonna do when we eat dinner, and then the postgame, it's kind of desserts and celebratory drinks, or, you know, consolation bites. But And then it all ties into the season, too, which we love to talk about on Doing Dinner. And that's like early fall is lots of sweet corn and watermelon and barbecue, things that are ending the season, but it's still very, very warm outside. And then mid-season, we start getting into like chili and apple cider and pumpkin, and then bowl season. Bowl season is fun. We're talking gumbos, stews, smoked meats, roast meats, and big, delicious stuff. And I love that. So, college football, as we know, is history, tradition, and community. But it's also an invitation to eat, drink, and celebrate together. And that's exactly what we're headed to next, into the ultimate game day menu. Whether you're in the Grove at Ole Miss, a stadium lot in Tallahassee, or your own backyard, the food you serve is just as much part of the game as the final score. And we'll be right back.
Arcangelo Corelli was one of the top violinists of his day. The Italian musician was also an influential innovator and role model. Corelli worked at St. Louis of the French Church in Rome, and his successor there was a younger Italian violinist. You'll hear music by both composers on Sunday Baroque this weekend.
Sundays at 10 a.m. on WKGC.
Madeline Potter's ancestors were nomads.
They became known as Egyptians, and then Egyptian got shortened to Gypsy.
Paul Theroux lived as an expat.
It teaches you humility. It teaches you negotiation. It teaches you how to deal with other people.
And Elaine Shalino takes us to her favorite art at the Louvre.
It's the Mesopotamian Wonder Woman.
On the next Travel with Rick Steves. Sunday afternoons at 2 on WKGC FM 90.7, Panama City.
Welcome back to 90.7 WKGC. This is Doing Dinner. I'm your host, Chef Chris. And, all right, we've talked about the histories, the rivalries, the legends. And now it's time to eat. And let's be honest, half the fun of game day is the food. Whether you're grilling in a stadium lot, cooking in your backyard, or laying out a buffet in your kitchen, a college football party is as much as a feast as it is a fan experience. And today we're building the ultimate game day spread. One part tradition, one part regional pride, because we have to. But I'm a chef, so I like to put one part chef's creativity, and I've thrown quite a bit of tailgates in my life. And these are fun. They're fun to do. It's fun to get out there and cook with your friends and have these really amazing spreads. And it's fun that other people walk up and kind of just like see what you have, and then everyone shares. We're all friends until the game starts. And if you're at your home stadium, then we're all friends. But these aren't just like recipes. They're kind of like edible souvenirs. That's kind of how I see it, of the places, the people, and the game that makes college football special, because it is quite a special experience and it is very unique to us as a country. And tailgating has its classics. And those classics are a lot of fun, and they're beautiful, and it's really interesting whenever you see them regionally based or university based, even city based sometimes. It's very much the pride of the people isn't just in the team, it's in their food and in their hospitality, because I like to think that college football fans are very hospitable people to a certain extent. Like Auburn and Alabama fans might not love each other a whole lot. They definitely don't like each other in November, but they do share a couple things in common with the state of Alabama, like Alabama white sauce on chicken. And I think one of the biggest and best college football foods is pulled pork. And pulled pork is made everywhere now, whether you're in Tennessee in that style, or whether you're in Alabama, or whether you're in North Carolina or South Carolina, or even regions of Carolinas. Pulled pork is a southern staple that is slow smoked 14 hours until tender, and it's delicious. So I think for our tailgate party, we're definitely going to do pulled pork sliders. They're easier to eat, they're smaller, they're handheld, so nobody wants a big plate of food to be carrying around with like a bourbon barbecue sauce. And the bourbon is from the state of Kentucky. And there are two very prominent teams in Kentucky, more than two, but the two most prominent would be Louisville and the University of Kentucky. There's also teams like Bowling Green and a couple others, but really the two big ones are Louisville and Kentucky, and I think pulled pork sliders with a beautiful, like, nice bourbon barbecue sauce. And that bourbon barbecue sauce is going to add, like, this sweet, smoky depth to it. The alcohol will cook off, so it's going to leave some of those caramel notes. And one of my favorite things to do is, I know we like to talk a lot about scratch cooking on doing dinner, but one of my favorite things to do is to serve pulled pork on Hawaiian sweet rolls, which means there's no fork required, and it's ideal for eating with your hands. Now, another fun one that I like to do is, and probably the most prominent football food there is buffalo wings. Now, for those of you that don't know, buffalo wings were actually born in Buffalo, New York in the 1960s, and there is a college football team in Buffalo, and they were originally served at a place called the Anchor Bar. That restaurant is still open today, and yes, they do have amazing chicken wings. But another one of my favorite foods is mac and cheese. And mac and cheese with shredded buffalo chicken, and then you can bake them in muffin tins, and they're handheld portions. So baked mac and cheese in muffin tins with this buffalo chicken. You can even use the wrapping from like a cupcake or something like that around it, and it makes it, you just peel it off and eat it, and it's handheld mac and cheese. What's not to love about that? Or buffalo sauce with buffalo chicken. So if you want to do regular buffalo wings, I love to do that. I think that there's many of amazing store-bought sauces. One of my favorite ones that I've recently been using a lot on wings is called Dudley's Dose. And it's a small company based in Florida, but they make some delicious hot sauces. One of my favorite ones is the pear habanero, and it's really, really good on grilled chicken wings, and I like that a lot. Now, if we're talking football in different areas of the country, so we're going to hit all of the regions of football. One of the biggest states with college football is Texas, and Texas we know as a place where a lot of amazing Tex-Mex food is made. So I'm thinking like some nachos, which is great football food, with like brisket and like queso blanco, which is white cheese, jalapenos, beans, pico de gallo. I think nachos are a great way, and they're a social food. People like to use their hands and eat, and then the most important food out of the state of Texas is clearly brisket, and it is heritage driven. There's been massive arguments about who makes the best brisket in Texas, or if brisket is the best barbecue or not. But I think smoking a brisket, starting the night before, doing it for 12 hours, smoked low and slow, with mesquite wood is an amazing, amazing, delicious thing. And you can even have some cider buns with that. We won't talk about barbecue sauce just because, you know, some people have opinions on whether barbecue goes on Texas barbecue or not. Texas is also known for its sausage, which is fun. It's smoked sausage, and it's easy to eat. You can cut it up, smoke it, put it on skewers. Very, very handheld, very easy to navigate while you're at a tailgate or you're socializing with friends with an ice cold beverage like a Coca-Cola or a beer, and it makes it good. Now, another sausage is bratwurst, and bratwurst are inspired by the Big Ten tailgates. For those of you that don't know, college football is separated into conferences. You have the ACC, the SEC, the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and a few others that are important to what it is. Anyway, the Big Ten tailgates, which the Big Ten traditionally is northeast and central or Midwest, is bratwurst. And if you've never been to Madison, Wisconsin, I suggest you go. The people there are known for doing something very well, and that is drinking and eating bratwurst. Also cheese curds. So I'm thinking like having some nice beers, some bratwurst. And where that comes from is many of the people that settled here in the 1800s were German immigrants, and they brought sausage-making tradition, which is how we got bratwurst. And now we eat bratwurst in Wisconsin at Green Bay and Madison and all of those traditional places, and they're delicious. But I like to make them with like a brushed beer glaze, just because it's a nod to Wisconsin's culture. And if you want to get really fancy, you could have a deep fat fryer. You could fry up some cheese curds. Make sure they squeak. But you should always like have one hand free of a drink or food, just because like there's a lot of high fives going on in college football. One thing I love about tailgating is no matter where you're at, someone's got a TV. And games are being watched in parking lots, and you're just having a blast for the whole day. I go to quite a few college football games and always try to go and experience someone else's culture. Like going to Ole Miss is amazing if you've never done that. The food there is great. Going to LSU is incredible. Even some of the smaller schools do a really great job, like SMU or University of Florida. Quite a small school. Anyway, we got to get it in there. But I like rivalry-inspired dishes, and that leads me into, in Tallahassee, we like to eat gator bites with remoulade. You know, fried alligator tail is delicious. It's like, kind of tastes like chicken a little bit, I think, just because Florida State has beaten LSU a couple times over the past couple seasons. I want to blacken the gator just to give them a little nod. Maybe do some Cajun remoulade with it. And remoulade, for those that don't know, is kind of like this spicy mayonnaise is the best way to explain it. But alligator meat is traditionally very lean, and it's pretty mild. And then, obviously, blackening originated in Louisiana and was popularized by a chef named Paul Prudhomme in the 1980s. And just to give a little nod, LSU and Florida are also rivals, and I think that makes it worth its while. Now, probably one of my very favorite rivalries in college football, and one that drives a lot of food, is Texas versus Oklahoma. And Texas, which is quintessential barbecue, I want to do like beef ribs instead of brisket here. And then I want to do, for the state of Oklahoma has this thing called an onion burger. And it was born in El Reno during the Great Depression to stretch meat rations. So they mix a bunch of onions into ground beef, and they like cook it on a flat top smash burger style. And it's absolutely delicious. It's like this caramelized onion with like beef fat, and it's just good and greasy. And so fried onion burgers, I think, are a good one if it's Texas, Oklahoma, with some beef ribs instead of brisket, just because they're fun and you don't see them all the time. And then you have things like Michigan versus Ohio State, where we could do, you know, the Buckeye candy. Everybody knows Buckeyes, right? Those little peanut buttered balls dipped in chocolate, leaving a circle to resemble the Buckeye nut, Ohio State's tree. Which also, by the way, you can't actually eat Buckeye nuts, which is funny. The real ones you can't, at least. The ones dipped in chocolate with the little cute balls and they're good. They're very, very delicious, and they're packed with protein. A great little dessert. I always eat them if they're around. And then you could do like Detroit-style chili dogs. Detroit's Coney dog has like Greek immigrant roots, and it's topped with like this beanless chili sauce, which is quite fun and very underrated. Detroit-style pizza. I like that. And Ann Arbor isn't too far from Detroit. But then we roll into the state of Alabama. Now that's a different one. The state of Alabama takes college football a little bit more serious than the rest of the country. Whether you're War Eagle or Roll Tide or whatever it is that you want to do. Even there's been tons of things happen in the state of Alabama during that week. Toomer's Corner, known famously for being rolled with toilet paper after big Auburn wins, once was poisoned and then announced on a radio show, funny enough. But Auburn versus Alabama, I think you got to do white barbecue chicken. And I like that white barbecue sauce originated at a place called Big Bob Gibson's Barbecue, and it's from Decatur, Alabama. And it's tangy, it's mayo-based, and it's really, really good. You dip it, you smoke chicken. Generally, it's best to do dark meat chicken, quarter chicken, which is very affordable, easy to cook, and you can make a lot of it. You like dip it in this white, generally Duke's mayonnaise sauce, and it's delicious. And I love that about it. And then we'll get into, like Louisiana, etouffee, gumbo, hush puppies, pimento cheese. All of that's going to be on the menu. So that's our menu. A buffet that's part history lesson, part rivalry, part comfort food, and all celebration, because the food is more than fuel. It's part of the story. And just like the game itself, the fun isn't just in what's on the field. It's in the shared moments over food, which brings us to the other half of a great party, creating the right atmosphere, which we will do next, after the break.
People are who build community. The self-starters, the friendly neighbors, the ambitious workers. And that's exactly who our members are. We're PCU. And with us, banking is made better. So whether you need a rewards checking account, financial products that assist with travel, easy business loans, or affordable auto loans, come see us so we can build the community together. Panhandle Credit Union. Banking made better.
Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing lender.
The Smithsonian is coming to town. The Bay County History Museum needs your help for an upcoming exhibit that is all about food and the tools used to prepare it. We are seeking antique kitchen items to display in the collection. We'd also love to record the story behind your kitchen keepsake as part of the exhibit. If you have any old kitchen artifacts or any questions, contact us today. Visit our website at baycohistory.org for more information.
Welcome back to 90.7 WKGC Public Media here at the beautiful studios at Gulf Coast State College in Panama City, Florida. And today, we're painting the best tailgate picture ever. We're talking college football, which starts 9 days away, and it's one of my favorite things to cater. One of my favorite catering gigs has always been doing tailgates for people, because I bring this like chef's flair, but we keep it traditional, like sliders and chicken wings and pimento cheese and gumbo or jambalaya. It all kind of rolls in together. College football and food is very synonymous with each other. It's got this pageantry to it where it's just more than a game. So now let's set that stage, because, like I said, it's more than a game. It's pageantry. It's the colors. It's the music, the history, the little inside jokes that fans share. Your party should feel like it belongs in the tradition. And I think the best way to do that is creating an atmosphere. When you're walking through a tailgate or you're going to a football party at someone's house, there's tons of decor. And generally that decor is bought from a big box store, which is fine. Everybody just knows they have the football plates and you get your team's colors and all of these things. But I want to kind of class it up a little bit. I want to make creative decor. And I think one of the ways to do that is to use these very vintage pennants and posters, because there's plenty of that out there now. You can get on Amazon, or there's plenty of college football websites that have throwbacks to popular games of the time. And, it's easy to find framed reproductions of historic rivalry posters for like these really nostalgic touches, which is a lot of fun, and I love that. And I think we should have our tables at our tailgates dressed as rivalries, because I remember going to Tallahassee as a child and watching Florida State football play. And one thing that we always tailgate in the same spot, which is kind of fun, right? You have your own spot when you do this. So people know where you are, and you know where people are, and it's kind of like this big intermingling of people throughout the day. But I remember an Oregon Ducks flag, and I'll never forget it. I'm like, what is an Oregon Ducks flag doing in Tallahassee, Florida? But that's college football. Like, they couldn't go to Oregon to watch their team, so they came to the one closest to them. So giving other fans a place that they feel comfortable in, you showing hospitality to them, is a lot of fun. One of the best games I ever went to was a game between Florida State and Oklahoma. And it was a night game, and we tailgated all day. And Oklahoma fans were very gracious. They're like, you guys are awesome. Y'all are very wine and cheese-based people, and we were. So I think having like the rivalry tables, where we assign each table to rival teams' colors, it encourages like playful trash talk, and that's what college football is about. And I love one of my favorite games I used to play as a child is, and sure, you're always going to see games like cornhole and beer pong, or pong, whatever you want to call it, right? Just remember, if you're going to drink responsibly, use rideshare, have a designated driver, do it responsibly. But I think one of the games that doesn't get enough love anymore is the tabletop finger football, where you would fold the piece of paper into a triangle, and then you would like try to flick it onto the tables. And we did this a lot as children in school, which is fun, but we should bring it back on like a bigger scale for tailgates, because then you can get like miniature goalposts, and like, you know, you'd always hold your hands up for the goalposts. But I think at a tailgate people might be seeing double sometimes, so it'd be hard to hold your hands up in some sense. But yeah, bring back tabletop football. What is that called? What is that game called? It's like what is the little tabletop football game called? But it was a ton of fun. Tabletop football. Let's give it a Google. Yeah, I mean, it's just tabletop football. You can even order your team's colors, and they have full tables of it. Wow. Yeah, you can get that now. And you'll even see people like playing. Yeah, it's paper football is what it's called. Paper football. But you can order paper football tables, and the goalpost, and your team colors, and like all kinds of stuff. A quick Google search leads you down a rabbit hole for that. That's going to be fun. The next tailgate party I throw, I'm having tabletop football. I actually am having a college football party on November the 1st, which would be fun, or October the 1st maybe. I don't remember. It's the biggest day of college football. It's Florida, Georgia, and which is historically known as the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, and it's a fantastic time with amazing food. It's played in Jacksonville, Florida every year. I think that's going to be a ton of fun. But yeah, I think having like a chalkboard menu is the way to go. Kind of looks like a playbook. You know, appetizers are first downs and touchdowns are desserts, and you can write plays for each course. So having a bin menu is a good way, especially on a chalkboard, to let your guests know what they're eating. And clearly this is best to do as a buffet. No one really does plated dinners at tailgates, so I think it's having those things displayed so people know what they're eating is a good way, where you don't have to stand there and say, oh, this is barbecue ribs with bourbon glaze, or whatever it is that you're making for the day. Remember to have a menu. It's the most important thing to do. That way you don't have to say it all the time. Now, I think one of the funnest things I've ever done at a tailgate is have yellow penalty flags as party fouls. Because we all have gone to a party and had party fouls. Well, there's penalty flags in college football, just like every other football. And you could throw a flag for somebody who drops a drink, or somebody who does something that is a little out of touch. And then having one of my favorite college football traditions happens on one of the 4-letter networks, and it is a gentleman puts on a hat or a mask, or like a mascot head, and he picks the team's winners. And I think having like some mascot heads would be a lot of fun, which you can order actually. You can get mascot heads as decor, and it would be cool. And then inviting guests to wear, you know, their favorite players' jerseys. Like one of my favorite players of all time was Joe Montana, and he played at Notre Dame. He was number 16, or Charlie Ward, number 17 at Florida State. Herschel Walker, number 34 at Georgia. Wearing jerseys is part of the tradition, or just wearing your team colors in general. And that's something that is just to be said, where people automatically assume they should be doing it. Whenever I go to away games where Florida State is not a part of it, I always try to wear the home team's colors unless it's orange, just because I don't really look great in color orange. And it doesn't work for me. But entertainment. One of my favorite games to play at any football experience is the squares, where we write down scores and draw from a hat of what numbers you get. And it's a good way to get people involved, and the winner gets a prize. Generally, it's money. We don't encourage gambling, but that's generally what it is. Generally, when you play the game of squares, the winner gets money, but you could do other prizes or something like that. I mean, and then even then, like, have a football. Everyone wants to throw a football. Do it away from people so you don't knock over any drinks or anything like that. And probably the most synonymous game with football and tailgating is cornhole. And it's easily accessible. Cornhole is very accessible. Anybody can play it. You can get your team's colors on boards. You can get them custom painted. I've seen some really, really cool ones. And that's one of my favorite things about tailgating is the games that we play, whether it's Pong or I really love the idea of paper football now. Cornhole. There's always something to do. There's always a TV with games on. Generally now, people have multiple TVs where they're watching multiple games because they want to see what's happening across the country on Saturdays. And it's fun. Saturday has taken over, especially in the American South, with college football, with food. It's an all-day experience. It's what we do. One of the running jokes is no one should get married in the fall because that's when college football is, especially not on a Saturday. And there are a few Saturdays which you would never get married, and generally that's around Thanksgiving because if you're having a wedding during Auburn, Alabama, or Florida State, Florida, or Michigan, Ohio State, you're probably going to have people not show up. It's just that simple because that's how hyped they are for this year's games. And playlist. I like music at tailgates, and generally there's always music. And you'll hear your team's fight songs. You'll hear war chant songs. You'll hear all of these things. In Gainesville, you hear a lot of Tom Petty. In Tallahassee, you hear a lot of Creed. Creed is from Tallahassee, by the way, if you didn't know. Yeah. You don't really hear a lot of Creed. It's kind of a joke. But you'll hear the war chant a lot, which is, or you'll hear Florida State's fight song, or if you're in Los Angeles, you'll hear the USC fight song, or Notre Dame, and it's all marching band based. One of my favorite parts about college football and the food involved with it is the marching bands and like how entertaining they are and how amazing they are. So it's generally a ton of fun. And when we start talking about football decor, it's so accessible to us, and we all kind of have like these things that we've created over the years and collected. It's one of my favorite seasons. We have summer, we have winter, and we have college football season, especially in Florida. But yeah, creating an awesome college football based playlist is one of the things that I like to do. And what are some of the songs you guys would listen to?
I think I would listen to Leonard Skinner in A Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah, that's a good one. Dixieland Delight. Mm-hmm. Alabama has a lot of college football songs.
They do, but it's funny because Leonard Skinner's, I believe they're all from Jacksonville, Florida, but the song is Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah.
But no, that's the one I would listen to. I didn't know about Creedence Clearwater, though.
Yeah, and Creed is from Tallahassee.
I did not know that.
Morgan Wallen, one of the popular artists currently, has a song called Tennessee Fan because he is a Tennessee fan.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Tailgating at Tennessee is amazing. So, it's on the river. Mm-hmm. Their stadium is on the river, and people tailgate on boats, which is kind of cool. Yeah.
I've never been to a tailgate.
No? You should do it. It's even if you're not a fan of college football or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I love tailgates more than I actually love the game.
Yeah, I was thinking that because I'm not big on football. I usually go off whatever my dad tells me. But I feel like I would enjoy a tailgate a lot. Just the community aspect of it.
Yeah, and it does involve a lot of music. Some of the songs that I always hear are Seven Nation Army.
Oh.
You hear it at every tailgate.
That is so good.
Yeah. And then All I Do Is Win. You hear that one a lot, especially at Miami games.
What about Here Comes the Boom?
Yeah, Here Comes the Boom. Mm-hmm. You hear, if you're at Tennessee, you hear Rocky Top. There's tons.
What's your favorite place to tailgate?
My favorite place, the best place in the country to tailgate is at Ole Miss.
Really?
Yeah, the Grove is a special place.
Oh, that's
and they do it right. I mean, there's chandeliers hanging in their tents.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. It's like 12 acres.
Intense.
It's they might not be the best team, but I will tell you, they have never been beaten at a tailgate. Ever. I tailgated at Boston College before, and I remember hearing a lot of it's so crazy that it's so regionally based. Mm-hmm. A ton of the like grunge Dropkick Murphys, like that Boston grunge punk sound. Yeah, and it was cool. And a lot of fun. But yeah, even the food is regional, the music's regional. In Gainesville, you hear a lot of Tom Petty. I Won't Back Down is something that they play in the middle of the game, actually. So, it's a ton of fun. Well, when your party looks, sounds, and feels like a Saturday in the stadium, you've nailed it. And as the clock ticks down, we're going to wrap things up after the break. We're going to take a look at the 2025 college football season, talk about some of the food, the games, the tailgates, and the weekends you don't want to miss. Stay tuned.
Commodore's Care at Gulf Coast State College highlights how students and employees are making a difference in Bay, Gulf, and Franklin counties. By volunteering, they foster growth and inspire positive change in our community. Learn more about these efforts at gulfcoast.edu/volunteer.
Next time on Real Talk, we are reviewing the new action movie Nobody 2, the follow-up to 2021 surprise hit Nobody. Join the cinematic conversations frame by frame on Monday, 1 Eastern, 12 Central on WKGC.
Most people know being a supporter of public radio promotes the public interest.
Through community engagement, educational opportunities, and the dissemination of important local emergency information.
Public radio can also be a valuable marketing tool for your business.
Underwriting with WKGC 90.7 FM and HD brings your business's message to a discerning group of adults in our listening area.
Our website has information about business sponsorships.
WKGC.org or 873-3500.
Welcome back to 90.7 WKGC. I'm Chef Chris. This is Doing Dinner, and today we have painted a beautiful picture of a college football tailgate. College football starts in 9 days, y'all. 9 days. We got the best season of the year in 9 days. And we've traveled from 1869 to 2025, from the first game at Rutgers to the modern-day playoff stadiums, which, impartial to it, but we talked about rivalries, food traditions, and party ideas that could make your house the place to be on game day or at your tailgate. Whether we're traveling to see our teams or not, it's generally a ton of fun. Now, one of the things I want to do is talk about some of the biggest weekends of college football, because these are the weekends that you definitely want to have a party. If you go to a tailgate, then you want to make sure that you have plenty of food. You want to have TVs. You want to have games. But week 1 is the last Saturday in August, which is a lot of fun. And it's kickoff weekend with marquee non-conference matchups. Often games between the SEC versus ACC, Big Ten, SEC. This year we have an amazing matchup to kick off the season. A couple of them, actually. We have Alabama, Florida State, and Tallahassee, which is going to be fun, which is SEC versus ACC. I know that Tallahassee will have a ton of tailgates that day. That kickoff's at 2:30, which is going to be a sweltering hot. Make sure you have plenty of ice on hand. And then you have a big game, big-time matchup between the SEC and Big Ten, which number 1 Texas will take on number 3 Ohio State. A little bit of controversy there on why Ohio State's number 3 and not number 2. Pretty much everyone agrees that Texas is number 1 right now. And then we have LSU versus Clemson at night in Death Valley to see who has the real Death Valley, because Clemson and LSU both claim that their stadiums are called Death Valley. I've been to both of them. I would say, if I had to guess, I agree that LSU is more of a Death Valley vibe than Clemson is. But Memorial Stadium is still great. I had a great time there. I've seen a win and a loss. And the food is good in Clemson. It's more barbecue-based, whereas the food in Louisiana is all gumbo and jambalaya. And I will say that outside of Ole Miss, LSU probably has the second favorite, at least, tailgate scene that I've been to. And in mid-October, we kind of get into a different thing where it's a lot of rivalry games like Texas-Oklahoma, which is known as the Red River rivalry, and Florida-Georgia, which used to be known as the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, and it still should be. There's lots of cocktails drank in Jacksonville, Florida in mid-October, and it's a lot of fun because those two teams don't like each other, but they definitely get along over food and drink, at least somewhat. And then in Texas, Oklahoma, it's all state fair food, like corn dogs. Corn dogs, I love corn dogs. People that don't like corn dogs, what's going on with people that don't like corn dogs? You know? Ryan, what's going on with people that don't like corn dogs?
I don't know, Chef Chris, but I can tell you that whenever I'm at a state fair or a county fair, that the one food that I have to have is a hand-dipped, foot-long corn dog. And I don't want to see the county fair box pop out of the freezer and you're just throwing it in the deep fryer to serve it to me. I want to see you take that hot dog, put it on the stick, and then dip it into like funnel cake batter or whatever they're using, and then fry it up.
Yeah.
And then with some yellow mustard. I don't need fancy deli mustard. I just plain old yellow mustard.
Yeah.
That's how I like my corn dogs and my pretzels. And
funnel cakes.
Yeah.
Funnel cakes are good too.
Funnel cakes. Funnel cakes are delicious. I like them relatively unadorned. I just wanted to have just the powdered sugar because I could not eat funnel cakes for a long time because I grabbed one at Epcot one time when it's 100 degrees outside, fully loaded, and I
painted
was
yourself
sick.
for
the longest time. I could not have a funnel cake. So now when I do enjoy them, I just want it classic, the funnel cake with the powdered sugar on top.
Yeah. And, I think I love state fair food, too. In Texas, Oklahoma's, I went to a game last year where I always try to go to one away game a year that Florida State plays in, to a place that I've never been. And last year it happened to be SMU. Southern Methodist is in Dallas. And Texas, Oklahoma was a couple weeks away. Well, the Texas State Fair lasts all month. So we went to the Texas State Fair and got to eat, all the food that goes along with it. And I'm like, man, this is great tailgate food. It's just generally everything's cooked on a grill at tailgates, whereas at Texas, Oklahoma, it's fryers everywhere, and it's just deep south, good food, and it's great for drinking beer all day, which is what people generally do at tailgates. And then late November rolls around, which is probably my favorite time for college football because it's rivalry weekends. And Michigan, Ohio State, the game is a big one. Iron Bowl, which is Alabama, Auburn, is a big one. Florida State, Florida is a big one. And then you have Bedlam in Oklahoma, Oklahoma State. That's a fun one, too. You eat some of those onion burgers. And now, college football's kind of changed a little bit over the past 5 years. Really hugely changed. And we used to have this bowl game thing with where we had New Year's 6 games, and then we had a national championship. And we had a playoff season start in 2014, and then it included 4 teams, and now we're up to, I don't know how many we're at, 8. It kind of took the fun out a little bit, but it's still good. And you have the Rose Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Peach Bowl, and the Fiesta Bowl, all which, Rose, Sugar, Orange, Peach, and Fiesta are easy to cook at because, well, they're kind of all based off food or something that at least tastes good in food. And one of my favorite things to do on January 1st is to watch the Rose Parade. And if you've never seen the Rose Bowl Parade, it's amazing. Have y'all ever seen the Rose Bowl Parade?
I have not seen the Rose Bowl Parade, but Ryan definitely has, right?
It is one of those traditions where it's on the TV. Whether or not you're actively watching it or not, it is I suppose it's a comfort show.
It is,
or a comfort event rather. That is on, and it really completes the New Year's Day. However, for me, after the parade, then it is back to the annual Twilight Zone marathon. So I have to have that on both for 4th of July and for New Year's Day. But there are shows and movies that just have to be on the TV, whether you're actively watching them or not, of which the Rose Bowl Parade is one of those.
Yeah. I never got to go to the Rose Bowl Parade, but I did go to the Rose Bowl, which was fun. I did get to go see the Rose Bowl, and it was an amazing experience. But I always have the Rose Bowl Parade on. And if you don't know what that is, basically it's a bunch of floats. Imagine Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, but all the floats are made with roses. And they grow these roses in California, and they just decorate these beautiful floats. And it's a lot of fun. It happens before the Rose Bowl game, and then that's played in Pasadena, California. And then you have the Sugar Bowl, which is in New Orleans, Louisiana. It's hosted in the Superdome. And that's fun because the sugar trade in New Orleans, that's how they got the name, is from that. And then the Orange Bowl, which is hosted in Miami Gardens, which is North Miami. The Orange Bowl used to be hosted in a place called the Orange Bowl, which is where the University of Miami played their home games for a long, long time before the stadium was torn down, unfortunately, and replaced with a baseball stadium. Then you have the Cotton Bowl, which is held at Jerry's World, AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas, and the Peach Bowl, which is hosted in Atlanta, Georgia, which is probably the mecca and home currently of college football. Then you have the Fiesta Bowl, which is played in Tempe, Arizona. And then you have the college football playoff semifinals and the title game. So college football almost runs into February now. So there's lots of weekends to host parties and a good time. What was that, Ryan?
You left out the Outback.
The Outback Bowl is hosted in Tampa, Florida. Yes, it is. For those that don't know, their company Outback, Restaurant Outback, is owned by Blooming Brands, which is headquarters in Tampa, Florida, and the Outback Bowl is there. Tampa hosts a couple bowl games, which is fun. Bowl games are fun, even if your team doesn't make one of the big ones. I've been to them in Texas. I've been to them in San Diego. I've been to them in Orlando and Tampa, and I always try to go to one because it's good to see like how other fans do things. And even if there's nothing really on the line, it's still a lot of fun to go watch and go experience a new city and a new culture and see some new foods. That's one of the beautiful parts of the game is people like to share, especially at tailgates, invite friends and have all of this food and chicken wings and hot dogs. And you want to know a fun fact? I just realized like within the last year that hot dogs were known as glizzies. I didn't know that. Yeah, the new name for hot dogs is glizzies. Yep, I didn't know. But hot dogs are yeah, gin, whatever. But yeah, hot dogs are now known as glizzies. But glizzies are more of like I think sausage is more football, and hot dogs are more baseball. But I think that food in college football is really where it's at. Into the NFL too. But I think it's mostly because college football is hosted on Saturdays, an easier day to eat lots of food and have lots of drinks and to have a whole day affair whereas on Sundays it's kind of like you got Monday coming up. And, you know, unless it's like a national holiday, which is, we should just go ahead as a country and declare the Monday after the Super Bowl a national holiday and just stop trying to work on that day because half the country calls out anyway, let's be honest. Especially if your team is in the Super Bowl, then you're definitely not going. But and even that in the college football world, the national championship is played on a Monday night, which is the only time, except for the beginning of the season, there's one played on a Monday night. I believe that game this year is Louisville and Tennessee, maybe, or Tennessee somebody. But I know Tennessee's in it. Big Orange, and yeah, that's it. Do you all have any favorite foods that you eat at tailgates? I wonder.
Well, I mean, I've never really been to a tailgate, so I wouldn't say I had a favorite food, but I think a classic hot dog would just be something I'd enjoy, keeping it very, like, Americana.
Yeah, bratwurst is great at tailgates. Sausages in general. They're easy to eat. They're easy to make. It doesn't take a whole lot to make them, but you can dress them up, too. Like, a hot dog can have anything on it.
Exactly, right? Or an andouille sausage.
And you'll see a lot of that at LSU, and
that's what the team my dad likes. So you know what?
Yeah,
it falls in.
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, the best gumbo I ever had in my life was had at an LSU tailgate.
Oh my gosh, I could do gumbo, crawfish etouffee every day.
Yeah, there's just like pots of that. Like when you go to a game at LSU, there's just everyone has it. It's like everywhere.
So you're saying I should go to a tailgate at LSU?
You should go to a tailgate at LSU if you want to have if you want to see culture at its finest.
Yes.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana on a Saturday night. What is that song? Louisiana Saturday Night. Yeah, you get down the fiddle when you get down. Yeah, y'all don't know that song? Who sings that song? Louisiana Saturday Night song.
Either way, Louisiana Saturday Night sounds fun.
Mel McDaniel. Mel McDaniel sings it. Yeah. And it's a great song, but you hear that song like all night long, and you're eating gumbo and etouffee and crawfish boil, and it's just like, what is going on in this place? And they're quite a lively group of people. They're very loud, and they all have that like Cajun, Creole, Arcadian accent, and it's a brilliant place to go to a tailgate. Not quite as good as Ole Miss, but close. So, as the 2025 season approaches, remember this.
You're listening to 90.7
College football
FM
isn't just
WKGC, Panama City.
College football isn't